And now.
Welcome everybody to Caxdale Business Support Centre for the September Plans Committee meeting. There is no planned fire drill this morning, so should the fire alarm go off, please leave the building the way that you came in and do not use the lift. As we all know, Caxdale have installed new technology in these rooms, including microphones on the ceiling, which will make the audio quality of the recording and the streaming very clear. Can I remind members, as a matter of courtesy, not to talk over one another or hold separate conversations with one another during the meeting? It is possible that such conversations will be heard on YouTube. I would just like to ask committee members to introduce themselves by stating their name and the ward that they represent, and likewise can the officers please introduce themselves. So if I like, so on my left.
Right, Councillor Claire Hodson, representing Westwood Hoe Ward, and of course Torridge, and I'm subbing for Councillor Pennington, who is on holiday.
Peter Hames, Appledore Ward.
Good morning, everybody. Councillor Chris Leather, Northam and Orchard Hill Ward.
Sorry, but we started this end.
Karen Hewlett, Dem Services. Shelby May, Democratic Services.
Good morning, Doug Pushby, Bideford North.
Good morning, Kit Heppel, Milton and Tamar Side Ward.
Good morning, Jane Whittaker, Northam and Orchard Hill. Teresa Tinsley, Bideford North, subbing for Kerry O'Rourke.
Good morning, Councillor Doug Smith, Great Torrington and Little Torrington.
Morning, Stacey Dorey, Head of Legal and Governance.
I'm Rosemary Lott and I represent Two Rivers and Three Moors.
Good morning, I'm Helen Smith, the Planning Manager.
Good morning, Laura Davis, Development Management Team Leader.
Right, moving on to the agenda. Item number 1, apologies please.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies have been received from Councillor Pennington with Councillor Hodson in attendance as substitute. Apologies have also been received from Councillor O'Rourke with Councillor Tinsley present as substitute.
Thank you very much. Item number 2, to receive the minutes of the meeting held on the 12th of June 2025.
I'll move those, Chair.
Thank you. Second. Recorded vote, yeah.
Yes, please. Councillor Bushby.
4.
Councillor Hames.
4.
Councillor Heppel.
4.
Councillor Leather.
4.
Councillor Locke.
4.
Councillor Whittaker.
Abstain.
Councillor Tinsley.
Abstain.
Councillor Hodson.
Abstain.
Councillor Smith.
4.
And then to receive the minutes of the meeting held on 31st of July 2025.
I'll move those as well, Chair.
I'll second that. You want to read out the names then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councillor Bushby.
4.
Councillor Hames.
4.
Councillor Heppel.
4.
Councillor Leather.
4.
Councillor Locke.
4.
Councillor Whittaker.
4.
Councillor Tinsley.
Abstain.
Councillor Hodson.
Abstain.
Councillor Smith.
Abstain.
Thank you. Item number 3, declarations of interest. Members with interest to declare should refer to the agenda item and describe the nature of their interest when the item is being considered. Elected members of DCC and town and parish councils who have considered a plan and application by virtue of their membership of that council hold a personal interest and are deemed to have considered the application separately, and the express views of that council do not bind the member concerned, who consider the application afresh, which may include further information. Item number 4, the agreements of the agenda between parts 1 and 2. We have no part 2. Item number 5, urgent matters. I have one. Stacey or Helen, have you?
No, Chair.
No. Item number 6, public participation. The order of speaking is a member of the town or parish council, 2 members of the public against, 2 members of the public in support. All of the above have 3 minutes each. And then finally, the ward member may speak, and they are not limited to 3 minutes. So item number 7, moving on to the planning applications. Application A, 1/003125/NMAT, Middle Dock, New Quay Street, Appledore. non-material amendment of 1/10125, and it is on pages 30 to 35 of your agenda. Are there any declarations of interest, please? No. So the officer will now, yes, Councillor Hames.
Well, we haven't considered this at Northern, but anyway, I'm
So with non-material amendments, the consultation requirements are different to say a planning application, hence that's why I assume it hasn't come before Northern.
So the officer will now get the presentation, please.
Thank you, Chair. So the application is for a non-material amendment of the previous planning permission at Middle Dock. So the previous consent was for the erection of the Clean Maritime Innovation Centre and the associated works. Before reviewing the amendments sought, we have a verbal update. We have received one objection letter from neighbouring occupiers, and I understand that's been circulated to committee members, so you've all had sight of that. Briefly outline there the issues raised in the letter. So the overlooking and loss of amenity to neighbouring occupiers due to the quay wall height. They're querying a discrepancy in the approved plans in relation to the quay wall height, and consider the quay wall height to be a material amendment to the permission. The content of this letter does extend beyond the amendments sought in this application, just to make members aware of that. So if we move on and try and clarify where we're at with the quay wall height, there are no amendments sought in this current non-material amendment application in front of you today to the quay wall height. The project team for Middle Dock are intending to submit a further application which extends beyond the red line of what you've previously seen in front of yourselves as a committee and approved, and that will be a completely separate matter. We do have a plan in front of you today which has got a level written on it as the quay wall height. Should members be minded to approve today, then that recommended level, I would suggest that we probably have an amended plan, which is confirmed by the Chair and Vice Chair, before we determine the application and issue a decision on it. So they will be required to be removed before any decision is issued, and anything to do with the height and levels isn't an issue for your consideration today. Okay, so that just to avoid any doubt in relation to what's written on page 33 of your agenda, which sort of sets out the amendments. Okay, so if we move on to what this application actually contains, I've put the next couple of slides in just as a visual reminder for us all more than anything else. So the site location plan we're all very familiar with. And likewise, aerial view of the cleared site, which I think has come before members previously anyway, but sort of reminds us where we're at. So the list of the proposed amendments is set out on page 33 of your, 32 and 33 of your agenda. It's quite lengthy, as you'll see. I think it extends to 24 items that they've broken it down to. I've just put a quick summary underneath that, which sort of gives 4 bullet points as to how we can summarise the amendments. So, namely, those are the alterations to the design of the approved building and its materials, some slight alterations to the siting of the approved building, alterations to the boundary wall to the south of the site adjacent to the slipway, and there's associated amendments to the parking arrangements and the addition of 10 additional spaces. So this is what was previously approved and what you've previously seen, and this is what we now have in front of us. So it's a very difficult spot the difference game. Effectively, if we start with the amendments to the southern part of the site, so that's on the left-hand side of that plan, the public slipway is shown in grey leading out into the river. That's been widened because of the retaining wall and making sure that that retaining wall is stable more than anything else. So it's been shifted into the site. So you can see there's a dotted line there which shows where it was, and now it's been moved further to the right. As a result, the parking arrangements have had to be amended. So there were 60 parking spaces that you had approved previously. There are still 60 parking spaces they're proposing. The blue ones are the ones that have been added in to offset the ones that have been lost on that left-hand side where the site wall has had to change. In addition to that, the applicants put forward the potential for adding 10 further parking spaces. So this is 10 more than you previously approved. And they are shown on the sort of bottom right-hand corner of the site. There's a line in them along the quay wall there. They are worded as managed parking spaces. You may recall from our previous discussions with the highways officer on this site, there was the potential for HGVs to have to occasionally access the site. And we talked about the vehicle tracking and the turning space so that they could exit in a forward gear. In instances where that would take place, those vehicles wouldn't be able to park in those 10 spaces. But we were assured at the time of the previous application that that would be very sporadic. In terms of the sort of siting of the building, you can see there's a red line around it which shows where it was previously. And so you can see there's been a slight shift in terms of its siting within the application site. So those are the key things to look at on the proposed site plan. And then if we move on to sort of run through the different elevations and plans we've got. So on the roof plan, you've got the approved and the proposed. The only difference is the access hatch. Previously it was in the middle and now it's on the top left-hand corner of the building's roof. So effectively it's the same, it's just they're relocating it. And again, we've got a comparison there for you to review. Slight tweaks to the fenestration, slightly moving around the arrangement of windows and doors between the approved there and the proposed. That's on block A. And then we're looking at the back of block A. So you can see again the windows and doors are being relocated slightly. And then we've done the cross sections there. So the top is the approved cross sections, 2 of them, and then the bottom are the proposed ones. Apologies, it's fallen off the bottom of the screen a little there. So just again shows the arrangement of windows slightly tweaked from those that were approved. And then block B, so this is going to the northern part of the site for the pitched roof element. So you can see the comparison there between the existing and proposed. We have got a different material on both the elevations and the roof. They're changing from one type of cladding to another. We still have a materials condition outstanding on the application. So there will be a separate submission confirming colours and sort of precise details. But at this stage, they're just putting forward the suggestion of using a different type of cladding. And again, the view from New Quay Street at the rear, you can see the changes to the windows. And again, I've done the sections there through the northern part of the site. So the top are the 2 approved ones, the bottom are the 2 proposed. So spot the difference. Okay. They've given us helpfully this elevation of the rear of the building, so facing onto New Quay Street without the retaining walls of blocking the views. So it makes it a little bit clearer for members to see the amendments being sought. Okay, so your material planning consideration in this instance is a little different to normal. This application is made under section 96A of the Town and Country Planning Act, and which is set out there in terms of what we can and can't consider. The important point there, I think, is point 2. So in deciding whether a change is material, a local planning authority must have regard to the effect of the change, together with any previous changes made under this section on the planning permission or any permission in principle, which doesn't apply here, as originally granted. There's also guidance within the NPPF, which is set out in the officer's report. There is no statutory definition of what is non-material, as it's dependent on the context of the overall scheme, and that's clarified in the PPG. Your officers have reviewed the submitted details and plans and do not consider that these amendments are material to the previous planning permission, and subject to the submission of an amended site plan removing the site levels, the application is recommended for approval. Thank you, Chair.
We have no registered speakers, so ask for this discussion to start. Councillor Bushman.
They're only relatively minor amendments, so I don't really have a problem with them, but can I just ask a question? Is part of this a retrospective application then?
Don't believe so, having
Go
been
back-
on site
go
last.
Go back to the first picture, the first slide, the first plan. Where it shows the slipway.
The approved or the proposed, Councillor Bushby? So this is what's approved.
All right, go on to Well, the wall on the side of the slipway is already built.
It certainly built some of the way down. I'm trying to recall what we saw on
All
site
of it was built
last
last time
week.
I went down.
We certainly couldn't go all the way down the slipway last week, so.
The actual reinforced concrete wall, you know, it comes across the front and then returns up the edge of the slipway. I thought that was all done.
I'm not sure I can confirm that from our site visit last week.
I think these plans are obviously seeking a non-material amendment, so I suppose even if it is done, that overall effect.
I'm pretty sure it is done. It was done
Okay.
some couple of months ago when I went down for a visit. The concrete had been poured all the way along there, and it was done. So. And I presume it's like this now, because obviously if it isn't, that means they're going to knock that down and start again. I'm not going to be doing that, are they? That's why I'm asking if it's part retrospective, because the work has already been done.
Councillor Hames.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Well, the key wall has already been done as well, so that's, again, it's retrospective. I just want clarity, first of all, about this extension to the seawall. Are you, through you, Chair, is the officer saying that that's going to be the subject of a separate planning application? The extension.
That's our understanding. I mean, I think it's always important to distinguish between the local planning authority and the council as applicants. So as planning officers, we can't speak as applicant, i.e. the council in that sense. But our understanding is there is going to be a further full application that will focus on the key wall.
Yeah, so as you are well aware, there is a resident next to the site who has serious concerns about the key wall, and is querying whether it actually did have permission to be raised to 7.4, whatever it is, metres. It seems to me it's a retrospective application here, and perhaps not a non-material application. Will the revised application or the separate application include matters relating to the residents' concerns on which relate to amenity and overlooking onto his garden and property?
So two points there, and similarly the point raised by Councillor Bushby around the retrospective. I think with non-material amendments, they can be submitted at sort of any time through an application process. So there could always be elements that maybe weren't on an approved plan. So in itself, this isn't a retrospective application. It's an application that considers the proposed changes to be non-material. Now, in regard to the key wall, as clarified by the officer at the beginning, there's no changes forming part of this non-material amendment that relate to the key wall. So any reference to levels on the plan, given the original site plan didn't have levels, I think for clarity, those levels the officer has suggested should be removed should members be minded to approve. So the key wall isn't for consideration today. There's no non-material amendment or any amendment indeed proposed. In terms of what has consent and what doesn't, again, that isn't for consideration today. There are plans approved plans that show a level of 7.4. There is a flood risk assessment which refers to the height of the key wall being 7.4 as well. There is also more historic throughout the application process drawings showing a height of 6.69. Now, the future application will address all of those points, and with a full application where all relevant material planning considerations are considered, amenity would be one of those considerations.
I query whether there is a reference to the height of the seawall, of the key wall rather, being 7.4. As the complainant states, there's nothing to indicate from the Environment Agency that it should be 7.4. It seems to me that the increase in height should be the subject of a revised application which went out for consultation, particularly in regard of the amenity impacts on neighbouring properties. So are you saying that that's going to be addressed, all those matters are going to be
Again,
addressed?
not speaking as the council, the applicant, just as the officers, the planning officers. Our understanding is there is a further application that will be submitted, which will be a full application.
Will it address such matters as visibility from the higher quay wall and overlooking?
There would be those.
Will there be provisions for blocking out the site view across to the property, etc., etc.?
I think that any such application, there would be scope for those provisions to be put forward and for considerations of amenity. Again, as planning officers, we can't confirm what will be part of any future application, but we are aware there will be a future
So
application.
no further work will take place on that quay wall until that's been...
Again, as planning officers, we can't speak for the council as applicant, but I would emphasise again that this is a non-material amendment application. So what members have to consider is whether the changes that the officer has described are non-material, and the quay wall is not something to sort of get into today.
I think it's a material consideration, a quay wall.
Yes, I mean, for complete clarification, I think, you know, we could discuss the quay wall when the next full application comes in. And that's when we can bring up all your concerns or otherwise with regard to the height and what's gone on and take notice of what the latest representation is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, Councillor Whitaker.
I just want to say, I mean, if there's no difference in the height and there's no potential or possible overlooking as far as this application is concerned, there's nothing much more to discuss, is there?
No.
To be honest with you. Yeah, I would propose you move it.
So that's what I'm not clear about. Okay, the wall has been built higher, and so there are particularly amenity considerations. I'm struggling to understand why it's non-material.
So the site plan does show a level at the moment. That level is consistent with levels that have been approved on approved plans. However, given that the wall in itself is not part of this non-material amendment application, what the officer has suggested is that any levels on this site plan be removed. So it makes it very much a like for like in terms of the information on it to what has already been approved. And it is only those layout changes that you're considering. There are no plans within this non-material amendment that show any, there's not an elevation of the quay wall, there's not a level, so it's not something for you to be considering today. There are approved drawings and there will be a future application.
Well, the level's been done, it's a retrospective application.
But this non-material amendment isn't seeking to set.
Because really, we are only considering numbers 1 to 23 on your agenda today.
Yeah, as per the slides that the case officer has run through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and then we'll get an ample opportunity when the full application comes to address your concerns, I'm sure. Any further comments? Yes, Councillor Leather.
Yeah, well, this application from this applicant is turning into a bit of a nightmare for me, Chair. And I don't accept that this is a non-material amendment. To alter the parking, to reduce that area of parking by that slipway, and to have this nonsensical policy, protocol, about shifting vehicles around if a delivery is coming, it is ridiculous to me, Chair. And when we first, as Chair and Vice Chair, when we first had this as a so-called non-material amendment, I was absolutely amazed because there's an awful lot changing on there. Of importance is particularly the parking, and I see the plan we're being asked to consider, which hasn't been approved. Nobody's approved that plan.
No,
I'm correct in saying
yeah,
that.
the proposed site plan before you today is the non-material amendment.
So this shows the height of the quay wall at 7.4 metres. We're not considering that.
That will be
So this
removed.
plan can't really be serious again, because I don't want to turn up at another meeting if this applicant applies to alter the height of the quay wall, and then we're told, oh, well, it's already been approved on the plan. How can we approve that, showing that there? And the issue is the parking. I mean, if you can put that slide back up that shows how it's altered, it's a big change, that is. And Councillor Busby's quite right. it's a retrospective application, this, for the alteration of that slipway wall. Why it wasn't brought by the applicant to the plans committee before, I don't know. But it's altered all the configuration of the parking. And now we're going to park cars, 10 cars, along by the quay wall. And if there's a delivery coming in, you've got to go through this ridiculous protocol. I mean, I wouldn't want to rent anything down there if that's how you're going to have to start going out and shuffling cars about. So how can it be just non-material when that is a major change to the parking that's proposed on the site? And a big slice of the site has been lost on that plan from the original. So it is, to me, it's retrospective, this. The changing in parking is definitely, and it's not just non-material, that. It's a major change. And then we've got this protocol, which, you know, I'm sure members have read it through, is ridiculous. All these 4 stages that you have to go through, you know, on a 7.5-ton box van making deliveries. You know, you've got to be notified 24 hours in advance. People have got to tell reception before the end of the day before about the scheduled delivery. Well, who knows when a delivery, I mean, it's just ludicrous. And then you've got to go out and move your cars around and shift them to park over the other side and dotted about the
I
side.
think the
It's
officer-
ridiculous, this is.
Can we have the photographs up, please? Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened to their TV, I'm afraid.
I mean, the plan really is a big change from what has been approved. And you can't call that non-material, I'm sure. And if it, I've not been down, but Councillor Busby reckons that wall's already been done. So it is retrospective in that respect.
I think Laura wants to come back.
I think the only thing I would add, and you know, comments about the materiality of the application is obviously for members to determine. The only thing I would just confirm is the fact that you've previously approved 60 parking spaces on this site. So we've previously determined as a council that 60 is an acceptable level. There are still 60 being provided without the additional managed ones. They've just relocated them around the site. So there would still be the 60 there. But I think the additional 10 have been provided as an extra, if you like, maybe to try and offset any additional parking demand there may be. You're quite right, Councillor Leather, in those instances there would be a management arrangement that they couldn't be used in certain circumstances. But just for clarity for members, the 60 that you've previously approved are still there.
Yeah.
Well, there's no additional, sorry Chair, there's no additional ones. These 10 are just because of the ones that's been lost, because of the slipway wall being put in. They've been lost. What was on the original plan, I've got that there, they've been lost because they've altered the slipway wall. So that's why they've shown these others dotted about the side.
I think this wants to come back.
I've listened very carefully to Councillor Leather, Councillor Hames, Councillor Bushby. Obviously, it's up to members what they propose, but I would propose that this is deferred today for these issues to be dealt with and for these applications to come forward together, listening to members' concerns and the fact that they don't believe they're non-material amendments. I think those need to be addressed, and I think some of these points probably can't be addressed by the planning team. They've got to be dealt with by the team that put in this application. So I think that would be my recommendation, but obviously it's over to members to propose.
And just to add to the legal and governance's point, so the alternative obviously to these, if you deem these changes are material, the alternative is that a section 73 application would have to come in. So the way sort of planning legislation and approaches are provided is to allow flexibility. So a non-material amendment provides that greatest level of flexibility without having to submit a whole section 73 application and all of the consultation and drawings that need to go with that. So that would be the alternative here, just to highlight that.
I mean, yeah, from the chair, I would confirm what our solicitor said, that we defer the application.
I'll second that.
Doug, do you want to say something else?
Yeah, I'm quite happy to go along with that, provided this isn't going to significantly delay works that are continuing now. If it means that, you know, work is going to come to a stop, then that's a different ballgame. Because we're talking, you know, potentially hundreds of thousands of pounds in delays. We certainly don't want that. I mean, I only raised my question to start with because I'd already visited the site some time ago and sat on the wall with the contractor and was looking at the state of the wall opposite on the old, you know, the shipyard wall, the old stone wall there. So I know the wall is there. So when I saw on the plans, you know, this application, you know, to alter the car parking layouts to accommodate that, I thought, well, you know, it's already been done. That's why I asked if it was part retrospective. That's the only reason I raised it, and you know, so open the can of worms.
Just to clarify, so there can be retrospective elements within a non-material amendment. What's before members is, are these proposed changes material or not? That's the question before you. And Councillor Leather has obviously raised his position on that and his concerns around whether they're material or not. And the head of legal and governance has recommended a deferral in that regard.
Councillor Whittaker was first.
I was very happy to propose grant because I understood that the alteration to the wall was not going to be included this morning. And I echo Councillor Bushby's words when I say this is an important and extraordinarily expensive and very bold application from this council. And I really do not want to see things held up because of misunderstandings. Now, I'm still happy to propose grant, but I haven't got a seconder yet.
Chair.
Yes, Councillor Leather.
Well, we're not considering what's best for the council, are we? We're considering a planning application here. Not what's best for Torridge District Council, but a planning application. And the list of non-material, what's classed as a non-material amendment, I wouldn't have any objections probably to all of those when I read them through again. But there's no mention of the parking alteration and that wall being altered on the slipway, which is a major amendment to what has been granted planning permission. So I'm glad the head of legal government has mentioned that we do defer it. I'd be happy to move the list there of the windows.
1 to 23.
Those, yeah.
Well, that's all I wanted to do.
But I cannot accept this plan, this amended plan, that we've never had planning permission that. And yet we're being shown that as the plan that we're considering, with this stupid parking arrangement.
So that's the application before you, that these amendments are for consideration and acceptance or otherwise as a non-material amendment to the planning permission. So were members to approve and consider it a non-material amendment, this amended site plan essentially then becomes part of the approved sort of suite of drawings. So
we can't accept it.
Could we just take further advice from the solicitor then? If we did defer, would it put in danger the whole project that we'd lose time and money on the project?
That I can't answer without speaking to the project team. And again, as that's the difficulty from the planning committee's point of view, that isn't relevant for you today. It's not a consideration for you because you are entirely separate to that. I'm listening to what members are saying today, and we've had concerns regarding it not being a non-material amendment, retrospective applications. This application has come through as a non-material amendment. So if members aren't accepting that part, then all the plans attached to this, then I think it's preferable to defer it. Or you're going to have to be accepting that from pages 32 to 33, 1 to 24, you are happy that they are non-material and there's no other clarification needed. It's not an easy one, I'm not...
Yes, Councillor.
I've got a question about the plans and the mention of the heights of the sea wall. You said that we should ignore those because there's another application coming through. Is the proposal therefore that that we accept the non-material amendment excluding reference to the height and perhaps excluding reference to the car park. Could that be an alternative proposal?
Yes, so I think points 1 to 24, I don't think there's a reference to any key wall height. It's purely the fact there is a level on this proposed site plan that has perhaps caused some confusion around that. And as per the officer's verbal update, we would suggest that were members satisfied that these are non-material amendments, that prior to any decision being issued, this plan being updated, to simply remove those levels. So there's no question of this including any judgment around that key wall, because you've simply got a site plan and you don't have any elevations of that key wall. That, you know, any future application that may come forward would have to consider that.
On that basis, I would support Councillor Whittaker's proposal. I would like to second that. We may need to discuss further the issue of the car parking, potentially exclude that as well.
Councillor Heppel.
Yeah, just point 3 does refer to car parking layout amendments, as we saw on the plan. So item 24 shows alterations to slipway wall. So both of those are part of the. But I seem to recall the plans, which we can't get up now, show the same number of parking spaces, but just shifted around. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah. So, Chair, it's being proposed that we approve one proposal, Councillor Whittaker, Councillor Whittaker, that we approve, whoever it was, to exclude the parking and the consideration of the quay wall. Is that what's been proposed?
Quay wall consideration.
There's no quay wall to be considered, can I say
Quay
that?
wall is
Chair?
going to be the subject of a separate application.
Yes.
So that surely will have to state what the height of the wall will be.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're indicating that it wouldn't state any height, but it
What, the
obviously.
future application has
Yes,
to
it would
have.
have to state a height, wouldn't it?
Yes.
I will, yes, Councillor Smith,
Thank you, Chair. As far as the car parking is concerned, there seemed to be a little bit of confusion as to the extra 10 managed spaces. Is that in addition to the 60? So does that give us 70?
Correct.
Thank you. It was just slightly confusing. Thank you.
Right, listening around the table then, I will withdraw my proposal to defer because I think it's more important to pass what we can today so as not to jeopardise the whole future and security of our grant. So I will withdraw my proposal. Sorry, Councillor Leather.
I think we should take solicitor's advice really, and because this plan, we can't accept, or I can't accept this plan as it is. Now, we're considering these amendments with this plan. And the first one, there's no mention of the slipway wall, it just mentions no access zone introduced due to existing retaining wall stability. Well, what's the access zone anyway? I've never seen what the access zone is. And the first one, building location moved to accommodate structural works to existing retaining wall. So, you know, that's quite a major thing too. But I've studied it and I can't see what building has been moved anyway. And by how much. There was always the 2 metre walkway behind the proposed buildings, but it's not clear what building has been moved. It's a real mishmash, this is.
Sorry, Chair, I can clarify that. That was shown on the plan, and apologies, we can't bring it up at the moment, but it showed a red line where the original one was, and then a slight relocation within the site. That should be on your plan that you have printed there, Councillor Leather, just to show it's slightly further into the site and away from the retaining wall that goes around onto Newquay Street.
Any further comments? Councillor Leather, you're still
No.
studying your plan.
No. Because it is retrospective, this, because that's a major alteration. And the parking, it's a major alteration from what was
But we
approved.
do know we have to deal with retrospective applications, the same as any other application.
What's done is done. You can't take the wall down again.
Yeah, the question is, are these changes before you material or not? That's your consideration today.
Well, for me, Chair, the slipway wall being changed like that and the loss of parking over there and then this,
There's no loss.
the loss of parking over where the
Yeah, yes, there was
slipway
no-
wall was.
Chair,
They've-
there is
they've
no
lost-
loss of parking.
That is extra. That is above the 60 that's already planned. Those 10 are extra on that
And what
side.
about the ones that are lost off the original plan then?
They have been moved, councillor Leather.
Moved to where though?
Well, I wish I could
Well,
show you.
if you
on-
could see, they were dotted all around the area, weren't they?
Yeah, but I've counted what's on the original plan and what's in front of us, and there's nothing altered in the original parking apart from what was by the slipway wall. And that's shifted them to park along the front of the quay wall. And then when the lorries, vans come to deliver, everybody go out and shift all the 10 cars out the way.
Jane,
Well,
that is
the
not
policy's there, look, the protocol's there.
is not my understanding of what we were presented.
No.
That there were 60 parking spaces.
There are still 60.
No, that there are now 70.
They are extra, those 10, by the loading base. Yeah. That has been confirmed by the officer.
Because what I saw when it was put up is that the parking spaces that were moved because of the slipway were highlighted in blue. And they were new ones, and and the 10 were in addition.
So if that's the case, why are we having 10 extra ones, new ones? They're causing all this problem of having to shunt
Perhaps
cars.
the officer can come back why they requested 10 extra.
Just trying to pull
As
up
I
the
read
original
it,
covering
those,
letter.
those are put there because of the slipway wall being altered and losing that end of the site, which is quite a big piece. That's why these extra places are shown in blue on the front. And then when anybody wants to deliver, they've got to go out notice and shift over to these other areas where they're marked in blue over there, though, which is these shifted over to there.
Well, hypothetically, those 10 might never be used.
That's right. Chair.
Yes, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I suggest these are regarded as overspill parking, used as and when needed, and they're not part of the regular park. I know it'd be very difficult to arrange that, but they would only be used when all the other places are full. So you wouldn't involve everyone having to move around when the truck arrives. But if they're marked up as overspill only, maybe that would help a little bit, I don't know.
Right, well, I think we've given this a long and thorough discussion. I have withdrawn my proposal to defer. I don't know if anyone else. No, so it's quite clear then. So it has been proposed by Councillor Whitaker, seconded by Councillor Tinsley, that the application is approved apart from point 24. Is that correct? The proposer and seconder? Which is the alterations of the slipway wall, which will come back as another full application.
Not the slipway, sorry, the quay
Well,
wall.
the quay wall,
So
yeah, yeah.
removal of any levels on
Yeah.
that plan
Yes.
to avoid any
Yeah.
confusion.
Are you happy with that?
Item 24 will remain.
Yes.
Right, so we will now go to the vote then, please.
So,
Yes, sorry,
so
Councillor.
the slipway wall that's already been done should be retrospective application, and it's not going to be. We're going to accept it.
Yeah,
According to the,
it's part of this application.
Part of this application.
yeah, and I've argued that that's not just a non-material amendment. It isn't. I mean, I don't care how anybody looks at it, it's not a non-material amendment.
Right, we will now go to the vote then, please, to approve.
Thank you. Councillor Bushby,
Reluctantly for.
Councillor Hames,
Again.
Councillor Heppel,
4.
Councillor Leather,
Against,
Councillor Locke,
4.
Councillor Whitaker,
4.
Councillor Tinsley,
4.
Councillor Hodson,
4.
Councillor Smith.
4.
That's 7 for and 2 against, Chair.
Thank you very much. Right, so that is our only application today, so we go on to item number 8, the appeals decision, which is on pages 36 to 58. There'll be any comments, or do the officers want to come back?
If I could just highlight a couple. So one of them is the Lakenham Hill application that I know members refused a few months ago, and there was quite a sort of good debate around that one. It was a proposal for a dwelling. There were a number of different aspects that were of concern, and I think, you know, key points to take from this is it is a site within the development boundary. However, the inspector agreed that the impact or the harm in terms of impact on character of the area, which is a very sort of green treed area, actually outweighed the benefit of a single dwelling, notwithstanding the fact it's in a sustainable location within the built up area. And another interesting point, the case officer concerns, which were you know, equally shared by members of the committee, around the lack of an ecology survey. It's an outline application with very little information. However, in looking at the site, there are trees all around it, so it would go without saying that significant trees would have had to be felled to get an access in, and it was the council's view that actually we need a ecology survey to properly assess that, which wasn't provided. So again, the inspector emphasised the importance of having that accurate, up-to-date ecology information. The other one I just wanted to sort of comment on is the Halwell Junction application, which is let me just go down. Sorry, it was Rally Hill, that one I was just talking about. So this is land adjacent Croft Gate. This was a proposal for 3 dwellings outside of the development boundary at Halwell Junction. So Halwell Junction is a local centre, so it's afforded a relatively higher level of sustainability in terms of the rural area. And the inspector has dismissed this. There is a footpath that links the appeal site into Halwell Junction, but because of that distance, the inspector has dismissed it and did not consider it a sustainable proposal. Another really important point, given we get a lot of self-build applications coming forward, is that the point raised by the inspector that you can't secure you should not be securing self-build via condition, which we have been doing, and this was off the back of sort of best practice that had been shared between other councils. And this is something that came up at recent Royal Town Planning Institute training on biodiversity net gain. So from now on, we will need, for any self-build proposal, for that to be secured with a legal agreement, as you would a local needs dwelling. It's sort of similar to that. And that's sort of twofold. It's to properly secure it as a self-build property, but also, as you know, there is an exemption from biodiversity net gain if you come forward as a self-build, and a legal agreement enables that sort of fallback that if it isn't self-build, that biodiversity net gain can be secured. So just to highlight that, so moving forward, if anything comes before you that's self-build, there would be a recommendation for a legal agreement to secure that. And just to say also, I am pulling together sort of a bit of a summary report on appeal outcomes, which is for members of the committee, and I think that might be quite helpful just to see what inspectors are saying, how they're interpreting our policies, and key things we can take from that. So that I would hope to get that with you in the next sort of month or so.
And I think the committee will find that more than helpful,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah. So item number 9, costs on appeals, 59 to 60. There were none. Item number 10, delegated decisions, AGMB, page 61. And then planning decisions, I go through them page by page, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, and 72. Right, so that concludes our meeting. We have no part two, but just before I close the meeting, this is in fact Councillor Heppell's last Plans Committee meeting because we are losing him to New Zealand. So I'm sure the rest of the committee will wish him and his wife good luck in their new life. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I'll now close the meeting. Thank you very much.
Training.
Yeah, and now
Yes, it has.
we are going to put through our paces now.